What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock and what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to break down why on earth the upcoming week is going to be massive for NIO and how this may affect NIO's share price going forward. And I'm also going to talk about tomorrow, what I expect to be happening to NIO's share price. Now, before I break anything down about everything you need to know for tomorrow and the upcoming week, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire new community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is, any could be a free NIO share, a free Tesla share, or a mix of all of them. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 2 weeks, so check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. Looking at NIO, we could see quite clearly this thing is in a channel as of right now. It's beginning to channel between this key resistance level between 13 to 13.5. That's like the top of it. And then the bottom tends to be around this $12 support zone, 12 to like 11.95, very close to that. So I do believe NIO is going to stay in this boring state for just another day or so. And then I also believe that NIO is going to make a big move after that because of the big events that are happening, and the big move could be to the upside or the downside. So I'm going to break down what are the big events for the week and how they could affect NIO real quick. So just real quick, guys, let me just go over everything just quickly. For Tuesday, we have CPI coming out before the market opens. This is going to be huge because it's going to really show what's going on with inflation, and it's going to affect the Fed's policies. Please note that PPI was higher than expected already, so it is more probable that CPI is going to be a little bit high this time, which will not be the best for the markets. For Wednesday, we have the FOMC meeting, and I must remind everyone, the market moves like crazy when the Fed talks during meetings like this, because remember, the last time we had Jerome Powell speak, on the 30th of November, SPY went from 393 all the way up to 410 in just a day. So in one day, the market exploded, made a crazy move. Look at this crazy green candle. And this really did affect how the entire market moved. Look at NIO on that day. This was what kickstarted NIO's move to the upside. NIO was crashing all the way down to like the 10s. And then all of a sudden, the 30th of November comes. NIO goes from the 11s all the way up to $13 in just one day. Crazy, crazy day. And also NIO had good deliveries and other factors that played a big role as buyers really started to step in. That also played a big role, but I just wanted to note to everyone, the market will move like crazy when the Fed talks. Also, for Thursday, we have more jobs numbers coming out. This will really affect how people perceived what's going on with the economy, and also what's happening with the Fed, with the employment data. It's going to be very, very important. And finally, for Friday, there's not really too many big announcements coming out, but we also have quad witching, which means that there are going to be lots of options expiring on this day. So I expect crazy volatility again. The bottom line is, especially because we have 3 million puts out of the money, I don't know if the institutions want this. They may even try to drag the market down. I don't truly know yet, though. We have to see the data first. But anyways, what I'm essentially seeing is Tuesday to Friday, there's going to be crazy volatility in the markets. For Monday, it's just going to be the start. I don't think it's going to be as volatile, but we'll have to just wait and see on that. And for the next few weeks in the markets, things are signaling to the downside. We're seeing the treasury yield starting to go up. I'm going to show you other big metrics out there, but things are still not looking the best for the bulls. As for NIO has been temporarily outperforming the markets. I'm hoping that this tries to hold up for tomorrow. So I am anticipating NIO to not do too bad. However, going into the future, we know when the whole market takes a hit, NIO tends to underperform. That could end up happening again, so please be very, very careful. NIO is green about 48.99% of the time on Mondays. That is worth noting. So we are historically less green on Mondays, so I'm hoping that NIO holds up. And the short interest did come down a bit. It's at one of the lowest levels we've seen in quite a while, so I wouldn't be surprised if more shorts pile in. They could even let NIO push up a bit so they start shorting it at the top. It could be part of their game plan. For the forecast, NIO is expected to make an 8.5% move max for the week. The max for the week is about 13.7. The bottom is supposed to be about 11.56. This could easily change though, depending on the data that comes out. So still be very careful. As for the super long term, just to kind of remind everyone about what's going on, Kathy Wood and Elon Musk had an exchange where they mentioned the fact that the bond market is essentially signaling that the Fed is being too hawkish and this could lead to a massive recession and people should be very careful. I just wanted to put this out there that for the long term, guys, for the next few months, things are going to get very, very tough, as I mentioned previously, as I mentioned the things Elon Musk said. So please be ready for that. What's nonetheless. So, anyways, looking at NIO and what the charts are telling us, we have some red flags. Okay. The first red flag is the fact that the 10-year treasury yield is starting to bounce. If this thing breaks above like 36, it's going to be flying all the way up to 37.5-ish around there. That's going to be a bearish indication for the markets if that ends up happening. The dollar index is near its bottom, in my opinion. The last time it hit this like 104 zone, we got a big bounce at exactly 104.6. This time it bounced off like 104 point, almost 104 flat. So this thing might start pushing up soon. That's going to be a bearish indication for the markets. As for the VIX, clearly this thing bounced off almost 19, very close to the previous support level or the previous demand zone where it bounces. We can see between 18.5 and 19. This is where this thing tends to bounce, and this is exactly where it just bounced. So if it keeps going up, if it keeps respecting an uptrend, not the best for the markets, right? This could start to drag the whole market down, including NIO. So what am I essentially seeing for NIO? For the short term, it really depends on what NIO ends up doing and how the market performs, at least for Tuesday through Friday. But for tomorrow, I expect some more kind of like boring price action. Looking at NIO, it's been channeling back and forth between this 12 to about 13 to 13.5 zone. I expect it to continue like this. For tomorrow, because there's this big downtrend and we do have a tendency of repeating previous price action, there was some news about China cooling down on the lockdown, so I don't know if that's going to really help NIO push. But I expect NIO to stay just channeling back and forth in this zone. So I wouldn't be surprised if NIO ended up actually getting a small push. And I say this because it's starting to look like, does this resemble a falling wedge? I think it's kind of looking like a falling wedge that's forming on NIO. Let me just try to draw this out just to be 100% safe. So it looks a little bit like this. Yeah, so this is actually looking like, how would I draw this out? Give me 1 second. You could draw it out like this technically. So this is resembling a falling wedge. That's a good sign for NIO. So what could end up happening is NIO comes down, gets tight tomorrow into open, and we get a big bounce to the upside like this. This thing might even pop all the way back up to fill this gap at 13. I mean, it is very possible. However, even if we do that, I expect this big rejection around this 13 zone before NIO starts to come down. Now, if NIO breaks down below 12.4 and we see it retest like 12 flat, if it does not bounce around 12, it is not going to be pretty. We have this huge gap all the way down to the 10s. It has to bounce off 12 if we do end up revisiting that. But I do anticipate just lots of boring sideways price action, just to be blunt with everyone. One thing that does concern me a little bit, though, is the fact that we are forming potentially a head and shoulders, because you could draw it out like this. We have the left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder starting to form on this side. We could have maybe one last pop before some more potential downside. And if we are going to get that last pop, if we get stopped right here where the neckline happens to be, and we get another rejection, it's going to make me think maybe the markets are going to come down because of CPI and the FOMC meeting. And that could be the catalyst that drags NIO down to start filling these gaps to the downside. I know I don't really like to say that. I know people don't want to hear that, but it is the truth. The truth is the truth. You can't really change that. So what do I think is going to happen tomorrow? I believe that the market's going to be pretty boring, maybe not anything too crazy, but SPY is looking a little bit bearish. It did end up coming down. If you look at the daily candle, it looks like it's going to retest this 391 to 390 area. So please be very cautious around here, especially seeing a daily candle that looks like this, not necessarily looking the best. For NIO, because we're red, I wouldn't be surprised if NIO actually just sees lots of boring sideways action. I think that NIO might come down a little bit, and it has potential to bounce off this falling wedge, break to the upside, and maybe retest the 13s. Very possible. Maybe even going for the gap fill in one day if it's super bullish. That's also very possible because NIO has been holding up pretty well. But even if NIO does this, and if it gets rejected again off 13.4, if it does see another big rejection, I'm going to be very, very concerned in a way because the market, in my opinion, is still set for some potential downside. So could this be forming kind of like an inverse head and shoulders right here? I mean, you could technically argue that NIO could come down to like 12.4 and then get a big bounce, fill the gap up here, and then finally come down because of like CPI or something. That's also very possible. But the signs are telling me NIO might respect the falling wedge one last time, get a big bounce to the upside tomorrow. Okay, we might revisit 13 or so. I wouldn't turn super bullish. I'd be very cautious because, first off, NIO tends to get rejected off 13 to 13.4. Secondly, if you look at the formation, we have all these gaps to the downside. And third, we have big data coming out that could change everything for the bulls, especially because of CPI, the FOMC meeting, the jobless claims report, and quad witching. So many things are coming, so please be very cautious for the later days of the week. So tomorrow I anticipate a little bit of green, maybe pretty flat slash some green for NIO. Like I said before, irrespective of this falling wedge, potentially a breakout to the upside. Maybe we fill the gap. Maybe we get rejected off 13. Who knows? But I do believe we should push up just a bit to the upside and then see another rejection and just trade sideways. And then we make a huge move by the time the data comes out. So that's what I'm essentially seeing. Okay, guys? Anyways, I want to thank you all so much for listening. I hope this wasn't like too complicated, but I just want the best for everyone. I want everyone to be prepared for the fact that over the next few weeks in the markets, I'm anticipating major potential downside. I think that the data is more likely to cause the market to drop. And I say this because we do have a tendency of getting rejected off resistance on SPY. It happened for the fourth time. And this time it's starting to come down just like it has every single time it gets rejected. It's going to respect the downtrend. And I do believe that's what we're about to see. So anyways, thank you all for listening. Please have a great rest of your weekend. I gave you guys my prediction on NIO, and I want the best for everyone. Thank you all for listening. Have a great, great, great rest of the day. NIO to the moon, because for the long term, I'm still very, very bullish, and I can't wait for the December numbers to come out. Those could be very, very awesome for NIO, but we have to wait until January 2023 for the December numbers to come out. I'm still very bullish long term on NIO, but for the short term, I do anticipate some potential pain in the markets that could affect NIO. So please be prepared. NIO to the moon. The long-term future is still very bright, guys. And peace out.